Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday, and welcome to the Early Edge. We are always brought to you by BetMGM, the sports book born in Vegas. I see Jeff Stenberg in the chat. He says, I missed the game last night. Of course, he's referring to Knicks Pacers. What happened? Noted New York hater Jeff Stenberg. Well, let's take a look at the recap screen and see what happened to us, because we crashed and burned like the New York Knicks did in the last 55, 57 seconds of the game. We had one win here. We had a couple home run picks on the side here from Lucy. We had, listen, the SportsLine pick didn't come in. We went to overtime and they still didn't come in. We got one win. It was the Diamondbacks first five. It was my pick at plus 105. We had two really good days prior to this recap screen. So we gave it all back, unfortunately, but let's just get rid of this. Let's get into our show. We brought some heavy hitters in here. We got Phil Bobbitt, which is awesome. We got Larry Hartstein. We got Mike McClure, and we've got Zack Cimini. Before we get into NBA stuff, Phil, you're not always here. First of all, I love the look. Somebody like me is going to love your look. But talk to me about why you're here. We've got the Indy 500 and we've got, the Monaco Grand Prix. Is this one of your weekends that like many would consider like the Super Bowl of racing, or is this just another weekend for you?
Not just another weekend. There's actually 5 races this weekend. So I'm working like overtime to keep up with you guys. Sunday is sunrise to sunset. There's racing all day long. It's going to be fantastic. Join the Discord because we're going to have tons of picks in there and we're going to highlight some today. So happy to be here.
That is awesome. And a good shout out to the Discord because much like horse racing last week, we had Aaron Bailey in here saying he won over $1,000 just being in Discord and listening to, Michelle Yu and a couple of others that were just dropping all kinds of picks and knowledge. So we're going to get to your Indy 500 picks in just a little bit, Phil, but Larry, Mike, and Zach, we got to go around the horn here because a lot of people talking about that game last night. Larry, I want to start with you. I mean, I think the Knicks were like 98%, 99% to win the game with about a minute left. And then the Pacers do what the Pacers do, right? So your reaction to last night.
Yeah, Pacers were 40-1 live. Teams were 994-0, leading by 14 or more with less than 3 minutes to go. All of that out the window. I mean, Aaron Nesmith, the guy was in a rhythm. He was wide open because I don't think it was miscommunication. I think the guys were exhausted. Bridges played 46 minutes. Hart played 44 minutes. It's what Tom Thibodeau does. And miraculously, the Pacers come all the way back. I mean, what about Tyrese Halliburton? I'm not going to take the layup to tie the game. I'm going to step back and take the three. Just incredible, that bounce. I mean, he could have been the GOAT if that bounce doesn't go in the basket. Incredible. And now the Pacers are minus 170 to win the series. They were plus 140 before game one.
Mike, any thoughts on last night's game and any thoughts on whether or not last night's game changes your complexion, not only of this series, but of who can win the championship?
I don't think it changes who can win the championship for me, but it definitely changes the series. Last night's game, the way it went, became a must-win on both sides. And the fact that the Pacers were able to get it done in improbable fashion. We've seen improbable fashion a lot in these playoffs. The New York Knicks have been involved multiple this time it went the other way against them. But man, it was like Larry said, I think some of that late game came down to just absolute fatigue on the side of the New York Knicks. That was a tough one to let go. Huge win for the Pacers and their chances of winning the series.
Zach, how about you? Your reaction to last night, and does it impact how you see the rest of the NBA playoffs?
For the series, I've got to see what happens in game 2. I hope the Knicks respond there. I like the Knicks originally. I'll say that in a long series, probably go 7 games, but everything that happened, it comes down to the small errors by the Knicks, self-inflicted errors. OG Anunoby, he missed one free throw. Karl Anthony Towns, he missed one free throw. They had the turnover that was reviewed and went to the Pacers there as well. So those 3 things, I think, were even a bigger factor than Nesmith draining all those 3-point shots, because if Towns and OG Anunoby make their free throws, we're not in this situation, and maybe Tibbs is not doing the foul situation as well, which we saw backfire in the last round with OKC Denver.
Yeah, one thing I took away from what you three just said is, Larry, it did seem like they were gassed at the end of the game, and that makes sense. Indiana feels like the deeper team. They can throw so many things at you, particularly defensively. It just seemed like those guys didn't have their legs at the end, and that's just game one. So it does, if you're a Pacers fan, it certainly gives me confidence that they're going to be able to just chip away at this team and scratch out 4 wins. Extremely gritty team, both teams are. All right, speaking of gritty, let's go to the Western Conference where, Zach, it's been this is going to be a defensive, at least relatively speaking, a defensive series. With that said, the Timberwolves have a superstar. He's got to score if they're going to win games. Talk to me.
Yeah, Anthony Edwards, his points prop is low today, so it kind of worries me. We usually see that 26.5, 27.5. It is 24.5. I'm going to go over it. I just expect Anthony Edwards to adjust to the Oklahoma City defense that he saw in game one, and he admitted he needs to take more shots no matter how tough that OKC defense is. He only took 13 shots in game one, and the big one for me is I expect his teammates to help ease that aggressiveness, but they've just got to make shots. Naz Reid, 1 of 11 from the floor. Dante DiVincenzo, 3 of 14 from the floor. As a team, they shot 35%. And if you look at those shots, a lot of those were wide open, just missed 3-pointers, especially from DiVincenzo in that deep corner. So I expect his teammates to help. And I also think this prop may be a little low because Anthony Edwards tweaked his ankle for the 3rd time in the postseason. But the other 2 occurrences, he actually did really well in game 4 against the Los Angeles Lakers. He's had that big 40-point game in game 3 against the Golden State Warriors. After he tweaked the ankle in game 2, he came out and had a series high 36 points. So he'll get the right treatment for that ankle, and I expect him to be very aggressive, over 20 shot attempts. If he doesn't hit this points prop by going 6 of 20 from the floor, I am fine with that. I'm not expecting it. Let's go over 24.5 points for Edwards.
All right, we're going over 24.5 points. Looking forward to a great game. Zach, do you have an opinion on the game itself? Are we still looking at like a 7.5 point spread?
Yeah, you know what? I had OKC in game 1 minus the 7. I felt lucky with that. And if you remember their last round against Denver, they had a tough time covering consecutive games. So for me, I'll probably sit this one out. I think OKC does win and cover here, but I'll sit this one out as an official take.
Mike, before we get over to Phil's racing picks, any lean one way or the other, whether it be on a total or on the spread itself?
I mean, I'm going to lean to the points still. I think Minnesota they don't play to their ability often. I still think the numbers should be 6, not 7.5, but doesn't feel comfortable. Oklahoma City, definitely the best team in the NBA by a considerable margin. I will say, I think the 2 teams in the West are significantly better than the East.
Okay.
I think that if it was like Oklahoma City, I think we could see Oklahoma City with like a 12 to 13 point line in a finals game against the East.
Wow. Larry, your thoughts, at least on this game?
I think Minnesota is going to shoot better. Those were wide open looks. They're going to shoot a little bit better. I think it's going to be a little bit better game. I do think OKC is going to go up 2-0. The angle I would look at is Minnesota in the first half, plus 4.5. They're going to come out with a lot of desperation, a lot of focus, and then it's OKC's depth that wears you down in the second half.
All right, Phil, we're going to get to your picks in just a second. I do want to give Gus Dawson and his daughter a shout out. He says, morning game, I'm off today as my daughter, and I think it's pronounced Isla, I-S-L-A, has her last day of preschool. Can I get a prayer for my wife for the summer, a school's out parlay, and a shout out for Isla? Well, there's your shout out for Isla. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Hope preschool went well. I don't know if we can string a parlay together. We'll see how the show goes, and maybe we can piece something together. But Phil, I do want to talk. You got an Indy 500 pick. You got a Monaco Grand Prix pick. You got a Coke 600 pick. And I got to say, there's a lot of people in the chat, including Chris Kish, who's a big racing guy, who is very much a fan of you being on the show today. So hopefully we can have you more consistently. But more importantly, for right here, right now, what are the picks?
Sure. We'll start off with the Indy 500. So yesterday on HQ, we talked about grabbing some Pato Award to win, Joseph Newgarden to win. But then DraftKings posted some matchups, and we popped them in the model. And I've got some big value on Christian Lundgaard over David Malukas. Our model predicts Lundgaard to finish around 7th place, Malukas around 12th, and we're getting a plus 105 number. So we're going to play Lundgaard over Malukas with a 12% edge. I like this play. Let's get it in.
All right. So we're going Lundgaard over Malukas. Let's go to Monaco Grand Prix.
All right. So Caesars, a very impressive board they have in matchups. So we grabbed a piece of Lando Norris over Max Verstappen to sort of complement our Oscar Piastri outright from yesterday as well. McLaren just has the very best car overall, and that should be on display in a track where passing is hard, qualifying is everything. Lando is in the better equipment here. I know Max dominated last year. He won last week for us. We cashed that plus 500 ticket, but that was sort of an outlier, not the norm anymore. So Max, Monaco isn't really his best course. We like Lando to out-qualify him on Saturday and cash this matchup on Sunday.
All right. And so now we move to what? The Coke 600.
Coke 600. So this will be the Sunday night, finale. And we're going to be looking at Alex Bowman over Joey Logano. We've got Bowman projected to finish 9.5, Joey Logano 13.7. So there's a 4-position disparity there. Bowman has had the better speed ratings on all the mile-and-a-halves this year. He has the better pit crew and roll time, which is huge in such a long race. So we like Bowman here. We think that the books haven't quite priced in Alex returning from injury. He had a back injury last year and sort of faded towards the end. This year, he's been on the come up, running strong. We like Bowman to finish ahead of Joey Logano on Sunday night.
All right. There's so many people that, Phil, they love your vibe, including KC3. He says, love Bobbitt's vibe, glasses, tie, cool toned voice. Phil, your response.
Appreciate it, man. I'm just trying to keep up with Sia. He's got all the suave and good looks. I'm just doing the best I can.
With those types of compliments, you're definitely coming back on the show sooner rather than later. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we transition to BetMGM. BetMGM players will receive a no-sweat token to apply to MLB home run wagers. To use the token, add an MLB home run bet to your bet slip and activate the token. If your bet loses, you'll receive bonus bets only at BetMGM. We will have some of the SportsLine model home run plays in just a second here, but we do have to get to the SportsLine pick first. Tanner Bybee. Under 5.5 total pitcher strikeouts at -135. This one courtesy of prop bet guy. Again, Tanner Bybee under 5.5 total pitcher strikeouts, -135 courtesy of prop bet guy. All right, we got to get to the SportsLine home run model plays. I've got a golf play for later today for the Charles Schwab Challenge. We got a hockey play. We got more basketball. It's all coming up right after this message from our partners.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
All right. By the way, we have Harry on the ones and twos today helping out the show. So give a big shout out in the chat to Harry, who always does such a good job filling in and producing this show and doing all the production he does for other shows as well. This, of course, is The Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. And Harry, if you don't mind, if we have it, let's take a look at the SportsLine home run model plays. And we're going Marcell Ozuna. Looks like SportsLine has him at +280, where the real odds are +320. Here's some real value here. Josh Young over, +700 are the real odds, and he's +520 per the SportsLine model. And then Nick Kurtz showing some value, +500 per SportsLine, the real odds +550. So those are a few home run plays for you to consider. And now I'm going to give you a quick golf play before we transition to Mike and Larry to give out some hockey and NBA. I'm going with a round one matchup with one of my outrights. If you watch the early wedge on Tuesday night, you know I have 3 primary outrights and 2 super mega long shots that's just going to throw a couple of bucks on. But the 3 outrights were Harris English, who you can still bet, by the way. He hasn't even gone off yet today. It was Harris English, JT Poston, and it was Thorbjorn Olesen who had the best odds in the without Scotty Scheffler market. That's where I bet all my guys, in the without Scotty Scheffler market. Over at BetMGM, it was 66 to 1. Other places, it was as low as 50, 55 to 1. Nonetheless, I think Olesen is in a really good spot for this particular tournament. And I like him in a round one matchup over Tom Kim. You can only find this one under 18-hole matchups over on DK. But I've got Thorbjorn Olesen -130. He's coming in with great form. I think he's a pretty good course fit, not a perfect course fit, because I do fear his accuracy off the tee could be a little shaky. But his approach play and his putter are really going to pay dividends. Tom Kim has been really bad on approach for a little bit of time now. Most of the year, he's been bad with the ball striking, hasn't been much better with the putter. Yes, he can absolutely bounce back on this course. It does feel like a decent course fit for him, but he's not in good enough form for me to be confident about that. So I'm willing to lay the juice here. Thorbjorn Olesen -130 over Tom Kim. Of course, I have some first round matchups that are all those guys are just going off right now. So we'll see how that goes. But let's transition from PGA to NHL. Mike McClure, we've got one of your patented first period unders.
Yes, first period under in the East. I like the spot between Carolina and Florida. I think the number should be minus 135 in this series. It is not yet. I think it will be by the time we get to game 4, 5, or 6. If you're Carolina here, though, one thing Carolina's done very well this season in the regular season and the postseason is kill penalties. And that's what they're going to have to do here. They're going to have to stay out of the box early as well. They're already down a game on their home ice. If they surrender an opening period goal here, that is going to feel like a massive, massive deficit. They will not put themselves in a position to essentially find themselves in the penalty box. So I like the under here. Both of these teams, great defensive teams, both teams great on the penalty kill itself. Carolina's issues have typically been offensively. So I'm going to go under here again. We've seen this play start at even money. I think that it should be, again, around minus 135. I think it'll continue to move that direction as we get deeper into this postseason run, but still some room here to go under 1.5, fade that second goal. I will also mention I had a golf play. Unfortunately, it has moved a lot. It was Daniel Berger under 69.5, minus 110. It is now minus 150. I would not play it at minus 150. The reason I'm still mentioning it, though, it is a play that you can make if you're willing to watch the live odds board and wait. The issue with individual round scores is it's not only that individual, but it's the course conditions and things move, right? So this number has moved to minus 150 now. It is possible it ticks back to minus 120, minus 130 range. I would be comfortable up to minus 125 on that. But Daniel Berger to shoot a round of -1 or better.
It's that type of golf analysis that people need to be reminded. We speak to every single Sunday. We're changing the time for that Sunday live chat, that live betting show to 11 o'clock this week and probably in that 11 o'clock range from here on out. But that's the type of thing you're going to hear for the Charles Schwab Challenge and every other tournament. Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, there's a question there. If you can get it down to 68.5 at plus 120 or better, which is typically after minus 150, it's generally going to move down a stroke and very quickly probably start at plus 125 and ultimately settle around plus 110. But if you can watch it and catch it at plus 120 or better, I do like it at 68.5, which would be a -2 or better.
All right. Very good stuff. We transition. Larry Hartstein, it's your turn. We go to the NBA. Talk to me about former Knick. But by the way, I want the Timberwolves and the Knicks to play just so Dante DiVincenzo can play all his old Nova and New York Knicks teammates. I think that would be a tremendous storyline. But you've got to pick on Dante.
Yeah, Dante had a horrific game 1, 1 of 9 on wide open threes. Those are threes where nobody is within 6 feet of you. And I think he's going to get a lot of wide open looks again because OKC's strategy is very simple. We're going to focus on Anthony Edwards. We're going to focus on Julius Randle. We're not going to let you get in the paint. We're not going to let you dominate with putbacks. And we're going to make all these other guys, Alexander Walker, Jaden McDaniels, Dante, Naz Reid, we're going to make you hit outside shots. And I think they'd be wise to employ that again. And I think Dante is going to step up, hit a few more shots, and also be more aggressive in terms of driving, in terms of getting into the paint and then feeding for assists. So this number is very, very low, 12.5 points and assists. Played 30 minutes. Mike Conley played 23 minutes. Mike Conley is not going to play 35 minutes at his age. He can be effective in about 25 minutes or less, but they need Dante DiVincenzo to step up. It may not be efficient. He's not a great shooter, but he's better than 1 of 9 on wide open looks. So give me over 12.5 points and assists.
I love it. And Richard Pierre talking about Julius Randle in terms of that narrative I'm building. But mine is more like closely knit with the Villanova thing. And that's why in that commercial, I think everybody knows, what is it, a State Farm or some insurance commercial with all the Nova guys. That is tremendous commercial. So that's why I pointed out Dante. But obviously Kat and Julius Randle, a part of that trade, a bigger part of that trade as well. Mike, real quick, before we get to the recap screen, there were some questions about, one was Berger over Kim from Aaron Bailey. And I got to tell you, Aaron, there's 4 Kims in this tournament. So I'm not sure which Kim you're talking about. Could be Tom Kim, could be Chan Kim, could be Michael Kim, but you got to be a little bit more specific. But there were other questions for my Olesen pick, Mike. And I think some people have him over Gerard and over Bud Cauley. I personally don't want to touch those. And I know you kind of like Ryan Gerard this tournament. And I think Bud Cauley has some serious upside in this tournament as well. Can you speak to that? Would you probably stay away from fading those two guys?
Yeah, I would. I would go the other way. I feel extremely confident betting the other way on it personally. So I love both Gerard and Cauley. I think they're top 10 players in this field.
Yeah, I agree. I tend to think from just an outright winning standpoint. Again, you can still make live plays here. In terms of like the live outright board is going to be available throughout the tournament. That's part of the beauty of betting golf. I think Bud Cauley is getting a little overlooked, and we didn't talk about him enough probably on the DFS show, Mike, but I think he's a guy that can go out and win this tournament. I know you think Ryan Gerard is a guy that can go out and win this tournament too, along with Aaron Rye, Daniel Berger, guys you liked that we talked about during that DFS show. But yeah, maybe you take Mike's advice, but I certainly wouldn't take Olesen over those guys personally. And Joe is pointing out, I think he's pointing out, Mike, that your Berger play might actually be minus 135 right now. If it were, would you play it at that price, your original Berger play?
I preferred it up to minus 125. I think it's closer to fair value at minus 130-ish, but it's okay to lean into it if you like the position. I certainly like Berger. I played him outright, played him in every DFS team. So I do like Berger.
Okay. Let's get to the recap screen before we get everybody out of here. I've got a round one matchup, Thorbjorn Olesen over Tom Kim. That is minus 130, and it starts around 1 o'clock this afternoon. Mike McClure has first period Florida and Carolina under 1.5 at minus 115. Then we go to Larry Hartstein, Dante DiVincenzo over 12.5 points and assists at minus 115. Anthony Edwards over 24.5 points at minus 108. That is courtesy of Zack Cimini. And then we've got the Indy matchups. Lundgaard over Malukas at plus 105. We've got Monaco Grand Prix, Norris over Verstappen at minus 115. And Coke 600, Alex Bowman over Joey Logano at minus 110. Y'all better believe that Mr. Phil Bobbitt has content everywhere, including he was on CBS Sports Network yesterday. He's all over HQ, but also all over SportsLine. So make sure you check out all of his content. I know he put some of his outright winners in the chat as well. So make sure you pay attention there. Everybody, we do have to get out of here, but we will be back tomorrow, probably for a bit of an extended show for BPE Friday. Very much looking forward to that. Thanks, everybody, for being in the chat. On behalf of Larry Hartstein, on behalf of Phil Bobbitt, Mike McClure, Zack Cimini, and, of course, Harry on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s. It's been a great show. Let's have a better Thursday. We rest our case.